Hello and welcome to Idea Television Media News. My name is Paul Olatupo. We begin straight up with the headlines. Algeria boasts digital infrastructure in MASILA with fiber and mobile network expansion. Kenya launches KESONIA as new interbank rate benchmark. And here in Nigeria, urbanization deepens out of school crisis among pastoralist children in Nigeria. And also, federal government spends 1.8 trillion naira on KEBBI section of SOKOTO-BADAGRY superhighway. Meanwhile, away from Africa, Australia, Papua New Guinea to sign historic defense deal amid growing China influence. And in health, federal government issues flood alert, orders evacuation in 11 states. Meanwhile, in business, Lagos cuts minimum land size for estate development to 500 square meter. And finally, in sports, key players ruled out as Flying Eagles finalize under 20 World Cup squad. And now we'll move on to the news in full. Starting off with Algeria, where the Algerian Minister of Post and Telecommunication has announced significant progress in upgrading communication infrastructure across the state of MASILA. This is coming under the directive issued by Minister Said Ali during his visit in April 2025, where he stressed the urgency of accelerating network improvements. The initiatives are part of the country's broader digital transformation strategy aimed at expanding coverage and improving service delivery for citizens. On September 11th, more than 17,000 new fiber-to-home FTTH lines were activated across multiple cities in MASILA, addressing earlier delays in deployment. Additionally, work is underway on over 28,000 more fiber optics connections, with completion expected by the end of October. These developments are posed to be drastic and also to enhance internet access and speed for thousands of residents across the region. Mobile network upgrades are also in progress. 3 new mobile stations went live on the same day as the fiber rollout, expanding services coverage across the country. The minister has confirmed that over 10 additional stations will be activated in the coming days, improving connectivity in underserved areas. Authorities also emphasize strict oversight to ensure all infrastructure projects remain on schedule and meet quality standards set by the ministry. And moving on now to Kenya, the Central Bank of Kenya, CBK, has introduced the Kenyan shilling overnight interbank average, KESONIA, a new benchmark rate that came into effect on September 1, 2025. This initiative marks a major step towards enhancing transparency, efficiency, and stability in Kenya's domestic financial system. KESONIA provides a standardized reference for overnight interbank lending, aligning Kenya's financial infrastructure with international best practice and offer clearer signal for short-term borrowing costs. By September 11, 2025, KESONIA stood at 9.45%, slightly down from 9.48% of last week, while the average daily interbank transaction rose modestly to 21 deals. The introduction of this rate has been smoothly maintained steady liquidity with a stable average of trade of the Kenyan shilling of one valued at 11.4 billion. The CBK expects KESONIA to improve monetary policies transmission and help commercial bank price loans more accurately, supporting greater predictability in interest across the economy. KESONIA is also posed to boost investors' confidence by improving a reliable benchmark that reflects market health. This development strengthens Kenya's position in regional financial markets, facilitating regions' investment and deeper domestic market activities. With adequate liquidity and excess reserves maintained by banks, KESONIA is set to become a cornerstone for Kenya's short-term money market, supporting sustainable economic growth. And now in Nigeria, the National Commission for Nomadic Education, NCNE, has raised the alarm over the growing number of out-of-school children among Nigeria pastoralist communities, blaming rapid urbanization and displacement for worsening the crisis. Speaking at the high-level dialogue in Abuja between the presidency and the Metili Ali Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, the NCNE Executive Secretary Professor Bashir Usman said many nomadic families have been forced to cities' outskirts with little or no access to tailored educational facilities. He lamented that most specialized nomadic schools have been converted to conventional ones, leaving thousands of children disconnected from education. Professor Usman revealed that a large portion of adolescents aged 15 to 25 have been left idle and vulnerable, with parents often reluctant to send younger children to distant schools. To address this, the NCNE has begun a nationwide census of nomadic children across 6 states and secured approval from the Ministry of Education for a flexible staffing model. This allowed trained locals to act as community facilitators, providing continued education in nomadic families. Now, moving on to the next story. The federal government of Nigeria has invested about 1.8 trillion naira in the 258-kilometer KEBBI section of SOKOTO-BADAGRY Superhighway, according to the Minister of Works, David Umar. Speaking during an inspection visit on Saturday, Umar said that KEBBI received the highest sectorial allocation because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is committed to fulfilling a promise made 43 years ago under the civilian administration of the late President Shehu Shagari. He praised President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who resolved to complete the project with expectation to significantly boost connectivity and development across the Northwest. Umar also commended the KEBBI State Governor Nasiru Idris for providing security vehicles for safe implementation of the project. He announced that funds for compensation to affected landowners are already and will be dispersed through the state government, but only to recipients with verified accounts to ensure transparency. The Minister of State of Works, Bello, also hailed President Tinubu's leadership, saying that the president has already finished his 2027 campaign by making this long-delayed superhighway a reality, despite Nigeria's current economic challenges. The Federal Comptroller of Works in KEBBI, Isana Vadu, confirmed that construction is in progress according to the specifications. Meanwhile, officials stressed that the highway will not only transform economic activities within Nigeria, but also strengthen links with other African nations. With KEBBI's corridor now under heavy development, the SOKOTO-BADAGRY Superhighway is beginning to take position as a key driver for regional trade mobility and long-term infrastructure growth. We go on a quick break now. Once we return, we continue with the news.
Quantum computing. Quantum computing is still in its infancy, but has the potential to revolutionize industries that require massive computational power. Unlike traditional computers, quantum computers use quantum bits, or qubits, which can process a vast number of possibilities simultaneously. This makes quantum computing particularly valuable for solving complex problems in drug discovery, cryptography, and optimization. However, the technology is still experimental. and practical applications are limited by issues like error rates and stability. Despite this, quantum computing is attracting massive investments from companies like Google and IBM, and the market could reach $64.98 billion by 2030.
Yeah, welcome back, and if you're just joining us, this is still the Idea TV Midday News. Now to the rest of the news. Moving away from Africa, Australia and Papua New Guinea are set to sign an agreement for defense agreements this Wednesday in Port Moresby that could allow New Guineans to serve in Australian Defence Force. The deal hails as historic by Australian Defence Minister Richard Marles, is part of efforts to strengthen security ties with the Pacific region and Caribbean moves to counter China's growing influence. The agreements will be signed by Prime Minister Anthony and James Marape as part of events marking Papua New Guinea's 50th independence anniversary. Under the deal, New Guineans could be recruited directly into the ADF, receiving equal pay as a pathway to Australian citizenship, similarly to a range already available to other nationalities from countries like New Zealand, Canada, the UK, and the US. Marcel says that this represents a new level of interoperability and cooperation between the two nations. Despite concerns about sovereignty, both leaders stressed that mutual respect remains central of the agreement. PNG Defense Minister Billy Joseph described this move as a step forward for regional security. New Guinea lies less than 200 kilometers from Australia's northernmost part, and it's a key player in the Pacific. In recent years, China has invested billions in the region, funding infrastructure and winning diplomatic ties such as the Solomon Islands and Kiribati. Australia has responded by ramping up the regional engagement, although similar efforts like a proposed deal with Vanuatu has faced delays. Wednesday's signing marks another step in Caribbean border push to reassert its strategic position in the Pacific. And now in health, the federal government has issued a serious flood alert urging residents in 36 high-risk locations across 11 states to vacate immediately. The warning issued by the National Flood Early Warning Center under the Ministry of Environment forecasts heavy rainfall and possible flooding between September 14 and 18, 2025. According to the notice signed by Director Usman Bunkani, states affected include Adamawa, Benue, Nasarawa, Taraba, Delta State, Niger, KEBBI, Kano, Katsina, Sokoto, and Zamfara. Communities along the River Gogalo, River Benue, and River Niger floodplains are said to be especially most vulnerable. The ministry highlighted that the rising water levels in Nigeria major rivers significantly increase the risk of flood. Communities in flood-prone areas like Manu and Lokoja are advised to begin immediate evacuation as delay may lead to more casualties and loss of property. State government has also emergency response agencies has been urged to respond swiftly and provide timely updates. The alert follows devastating rainfall in Zaria, Kaduna State, which already has displaced over 470 children and destroyed more than 270 homes. Nigeria continues to battle with the effects of climate change, urbanization, and poor drainage infrastructure. As of September 4, floods in 2025 has already claimed over 200 lives, with over 114 persons still missing. According to the National Emergency Management Agency, over 5.2 million people were affected by flood in 2024, with more than 1.2 million displaced. Officials say proactive evacuation and community preparedness will be key to reducing the impact of this year's flood. Now, moving on to business. In response to urbanization and housing demands, the Lagos State government has reduced the minimum land size required for real estate development from 10,000 square meters to 5,000 square meters. The announcement was made by the Commissioner for Fiscal Planning and Urbanization, Dr. Oluyinka Olumide, during the ministry's maiden quarterly media parley in Alausa. He explained that the policy shifts reflect current realities and will help bring previous non-compliant real estate about 176 of which were listed in August into alignment with planning regulation. Dr. Olumide confirmed that reinforcement would soon begin for those estates yet to seek regularization, with the drive also expanding to areas like Ikorodu and Ikeja. The commissioner also announced new guidelines for communities informally converted into estates. He emphasized that major infrastructure projects such as the blue and red rail lines and flyovers are guided by Lagos operative development plans, which are developed with input from stakeholders and must be adhered to by all relevant agencies. In addition, the ministry is reclaiming over 3,000 hectares of underutilized land, especially along power line corridors and drain setback for structures used such as parking zones in high-density areas. Dr. Olumide also highlighted improvements in planning permits process, noting that approvals can now be issued within 10 days after payment. He attributed the faster process to increased staffing, expand district offices, and upcoming automation aimed at boosting service delivery and compliance. And finally, in sports, we see here that in Nigerians Flying Eagles will be without several key players as they prepare for the 2025 FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Chile. European clubs Stade Reims and also Offenham has refused to release Nigerian youngster Emmanuel Chukwu Precious Benjamin and Ibrahim Hafiz for the tournament, citing the fact that the Under-20 World Cup is not on FIFA's official calendar. The Nigerian Football Federation requested for their release but was denied, forcing head coach Aliu Zubero to make last-minute changes to the squad. In response, Zubero has named a final 21-man that excludes several overseas-based players, including notable absences like Mazrunda, Clinton Jeffers, Bidemi Amole, and Divine Osile. The team, however, remains his captain, Daniel Bameyi, including 10 others who featured in recent training camps and friendlies. New additions include Israel Amoya, Charles Agada, and Odinyaka Okoro, who have been drafted in. Fullback Amadou Mogari was ruled out due to a new injury, while Norway-based midfielder Daniel Daga is expected to join the team in Chile. The squad departed Abuja for Chile on Sunday night ahead of the tournament, which is to kick off on September 27th. The Flying Eagles are aiming to make history by clinching their first FIFA Under-20 World Cup title, having previously finished runner-ups in 1989 and 2005. Their last outing saw them crashing out in the quarterfinals against South Korea in Argentina in 2023. The 2025 edition runs until October 20th, with Nigeria hoping to put in a title contending performance. And that's all that we have for you this afternoon on Idea Television Midday News. But before we go, let's take a look at the recap of our news. In MASILA with fiber and mobile network expansion. Kenya launches KESONIA as new interbank rates benchmark. And also, urbanization deepens out of school crisis among pastoralist children in Nigeria. Meanwhile, federal government spends 1.8 trillion naira on KEBBI section of SOKOTO-BADAGRY superhighway. And away from Africa, we see that Austria and Papua New Guinea to sign historic defense deal amid growing China influence. And in health, we see that federal government issues flood alert orders evacuation in 11 states. And in business, Lagos cuts minimum land size for estate developments to 500 square meters. And in sport, key players rolled out of Flying Eagles finalized on the 20 World Cup squad. Do not forget to follow us across all of our social media platforms as Idea TV. I am Paul Oladkupo. Thanks for watching.